Updated August 9, 2017 131,047 Donald Trump is famous for his tough talk and today unleashed a scathing tirade of threats against North Korea's Kim Jong-un. They were powerful words that sounded not unlike the blustery diatribes that frequently come from North Korean state media. But following through with them is not straightforward. It is not clear exactly what would trigger Mr. Trump's fire and fury retaliation, but any preemptive strike against North Korea would likely be met with great hostility from his own administration and America's allies. While it is likely the U.S. mainland is still out of reach for a nuclear-armed North Korean intercontinental ballistic missile, the rogue state's immediate neighbors are not. South Korea and Japan could feel the brunt of any retaliation Mr. Kim decided to deliver. Millions of people live in those two nations and tens of thousands of U.S. troops are stationed there. Mr. Trump's comments are also out of step with the efforts of others in his administration. Secretary of Defense James Mattis has previously warned of an overwhelming response to nuclear provocation by North Korea, but said a military solution in North Korea would be tragic on an unbelievable scale. Mr. Trump's threat came days after the United Nations successfully passed its toughest sanctions yet against Pyongyang as those in Mr. Trump's administration try to use diplomatic and non-military means to bring the rogue state to heel. Speaking in Asia this week, Secretary of State Rex Tillerson reiterated that the United States is not seeking regime change in North Korea but is instead calling for dialogue if Pyongyang halts its missile program. Mr. Tillerson also been urging China to ramp up its pressure on Pyongyang, and Beijing is unlikely to be impressed by Mr. Trump's threats. There has been some fallout already. Wall Street closed lower after a later afternoon selling spree following Mr. Trump's threat. While following through on this threat would be unprecedented, Mr. Trump does have a history of making good on his military promises. He declared a red line had been crossed in Syria when the regime there used a chemical weapon against civilians. Mr. Trump responded by bombing an airfield. During the campaign, Mr. Trump declared he would bomb the shit out of ISIS. In April he dropped an ordnance known as the mother of all bombs on a militant stronghold in Afghanistan. Earlier this year he said he was sending an armada to the waters near North Korea and, while the fleet was sailing in the opposite direction at the time, it is understood it did eventually get there. The principle of mutually assured destruction has not changed since the Cold War, and while Donald Trump's comments may make him seem tough, he may have also backed himself into a corner. How either of these unpredictable leaders react next is anyone's guess. For a strong man to be effective, he has to follow through on his threats, which in this case could lead to the destruction of the North Korean regime, but also death for thousands of American allies, no matter who fires first. Topics: World politics, unrest, conflict and war. Korea Democratic People's Republic of United States first posted August 9, 2017 092524.